any criticism by saying,
It's not, they don't have an organ.
this, surprisingly, was not an airtight legal response, and after Gucci's reported the incident to the police, Blade was immediately kicked off of the RV trip. Shortly before he was kicked off the trip, Bjorn would tell Blade that he absolutely believes Blade is guilty and should go to prison. Gucci's also claimed that while she did tell the local authorities, she never went through with making a formal police report to charge him or having a medical examination done to determine what happened. This situation exploded all over the internet when it happened. Blade hadn't been this talked about since he was peaking in the Call of Duty days. In fact, it went so viral that Blade ended up getting interviewed by Chris Hansen, formerly of Dateline NBC. During this interview, Blade is notably sober and actually tries to give a coherent refute to the accusations. According to Blade, Gucci's was very intoxicated the entire night and was being very flirtatious with everyone in the RV, including him. He also says that he was not particularly wasted that night.
This day I really didn't drink that much because Gucci's was performing karaoke. She was being pretty ridiculous. She was really drunk. I think it was nervousness. We went back on the RV, and while we were back on the RV, she was really sexually aggressive towards everyone on the RV. My friend Bone Clinks, my friend Bjorn. She was really into Bjorn.
Blade claims that Gucci's was actually interested in Bjorn, not him, and was constantly jumping on top of him. He also claims she tried to pull him into the RV bathroom, which he was not interested in. Then Bjorn goes back there, and Blade doesn't know what happened with them, but he assumes that intercourse may have happened, and then Bjorn returns to the front. According to Blade, this is when the incident really starts. Blade claims him asking Bjorn if they should have sex was just a joke.
I admit saying this is all on stream. I was like, hey, should I go back there and have sex with her? It was clearly a joke. Bjorn went along with the joke, and I was just tired. All I wanted to do was get some sleep at the big bed.
As far as when Blade goes to the back of the RV, he claims he went to sleep next to Gucci's and nothing happened. He denies touching her at all.
Did you assault or inappropriately touch Gucci's, Jessica?
Absolutely not. I did not touch her in that bed at all.
After the Hansen interview, Blade would upload a video to his channel basically saying that because he was interviewed by Chris Hansen and because the police didn't arrest him, that meant he was innocent. I'll just let that sit with you guys, I guess. No further commentary needed. But as has been established, Blade is not a rational human being. After the entire situation, he would appear on live streams smugly saying that he had proved the haters wrong, and since he wasn't in jail, he was obviously innocent. Then, for the cherry on the Sunday, he smugly says that he wants to do it again.
Oh, we're again.
But don't worry, even if Blade managed to escape legal justice for his actions, you can rest easy knowing he's still receiving plenty of cosmic justice for his lifetime of terrible behavior. One of the most prominent and visible effects of Blade's absolutely terrible health is the rapid decay of his leg tissue. Due to a combination of his terrible diet and rampant alcoholism, Blade has developed diabetes, which has resulted in significant tissue damage to his legs and partial necrosis of much of his leg tissue. Diabetes, when poorly managed, can lead to a condition known as diabetic foot ulcers, which, in severe cases, can result in tissue damage and even the rotting of the legs. People with diabetes often experience peripheral neuropathy, a condition in which high blood sugar levels damage the nerves in the extremities, such as the feet and legs. Neuropathy can lead to a loss of sensation in the affected areas, making it difficult for individuals to feel pain, heat, or cold. This may also be a factor in why Blade seems wholly unfazed after getting in violent brawls, or performing an incredibly stupid stunt while intoxicated. Furthermore, diabetes can also lead to peripheral arterial disease, or PAD, which is characterized by narrowed or blocked blood vessels in the legs. This reduces blood flow to the extremities, making it more difficult for wounds and ulcers to heal. Due to the reduced sensation and poor circulation, people with diabetes may develop small sores or ulcers on their feet or legs. These ulcers can result from minor injuries such as blisters or cuts, or getting the shit kicked out of you by a drugged up IRL streamer, which often goes unnoticed due to neuropathy. In the worst case scenario, if an ulcer becomes infected, the infection can spread to the surrounding tissue. When tissue dies due to a lack of blood supply, it's referred to as gangrene, and if left untreated, gangrene can progress to the point where amputation is necessary to prevent the spread of the infection. This is what Blade currently has, but he's blissfully unaware of it, and instead of going to a doctor like a normal person would, he seems to be in complete denial about his health, believing that if he doesn't pay attention to it, then the issue will just go away all on its own, which is not the case. It will not. The far more likely option is that they're going to amputate one or both of his legs eventually. Now, I'm no doctor, but I don't think the best way to prevent infections is to continuously pour whatever alcohol happens to be present into your wounds. In fact, it seems more like speed running your eventual leg amputation, but then again, what do I know? I'm a YouTuber, not a doctor. Blade seemingly sees no issue with his failing health, and in each subsequent live stream, you can see his condition getting worse. Due to this, many of his detractors have jokingly started referring to him as only lose me leg, and have started placing bets as to when his legs will be removed. After being unceremoniously exiled from the RV, Blade would begin streaming again, this time in a content creation house with many other streamers. This event begins during a party that was being hosted by the streamers at the house, where Blade had invited a fan of his named Willie to come hang out with them. This guy supposedly had driven cross country to come see Blade because he was such a huge fan of his content. Apparently, Willie had taken some sort of benzodiazepine that day, most likely Xanax or Ambien, and then proceeded to drink heavily at the party. On stream, he could be seen taking a whole red cup of Crown Royal whiskey at once, which is a lot. And for those unaware, mixing benzos with alcohol is a terrible idea. Benzodiazepines are central nervous system depressant drugs, meaning they slow your body's natural nervous system functions. When mixed with alcohol, which is also a CNS depressant, this can cause the central nervous system to shut down so much that it stops working. This is obviously very bad because the CNS is responsible for regulating your breathing, and your body can simply stop breathing to the point of causing death. Shortly after taking the shot, Willie could be seen on stream passed out, standing up against a railing. Directly after this, he collapsed hard onto the ground. Blade and the other streamers either didn't notice or were far too intoxicated to comprehend the gravity of the situation, so they didn't immediately call the paramedics, instead choosing to hold his nose and draw all over his face for about an hour before realizing something was seriously wrong, and they finally called 911. In a cruelly ironic twist of fate, the text-to-speech donation service can be heard saying, "He took too much Xanax and is currently dying," while the other streamers continue to draw on Willie's lifeless face. Perhaps if someone had been sober enough to comprehend the message being told to them, then the night could have gone much differently. After the paramedics arrived, the streamers present at the house crowded around the EMT officers and continuously attempted to speak with them, even after they asked several times not to be on camera, as they were actively trying to save this guy's life. Willie was taken away by the ambulance and unfortunately would pass away as a result of oxygen loss to his brain, proving fatal. The fact that they watched someone collapse on the ground and suffocate in front of them with zero remorse is evidence of how far gone some of these guys are. It's heartbreaking and infuriating to think that if they had made that call a few minutes earlier, someone may not have lost their life over such a stupid mistake. Around 2 months after the tragic incident, Blade would upload a video revealing more details while also denying any responsibility in the matter and attempting to shift most of the blame onto Willie for choosing to drink in the first place, which, in fairness, he does deserve some blame for, but also, you should have called.
Willie was in the hospital and he actually got up, was walking around his own accord and tried to check himself out. He went to hospice, did the same thing, and actually did check himself out.
It's revealed in the video that Willie had a history of both heart and lung issues, for which he had been in and out of the hospital multiple times. It was also revealed by the coroner's report that Willie had previously been in the hospital on life support due to the severity of his health complications. He eventually recovered. After a short while at a hospice, Willie would check himself out of the hospice against the advice of doctors, which explains the weakened condition he was in before his passing. Blade seems to think that Willie was improving and slowly getting better, which is why he was sent to a hospice, which just goes to show Blade's complete lack of understanding of how anything related to the medical system works. For the unaware, hospices are a specialized type of care that focuses on providing support and comfort to individuals who are in advanced stages of a life-limiting illness or are nearing the end of their lives. The primary goal is to enhance the quality of life for patients and to provide compassionate and holistic care that addresses their physical, emotional, social, and spiritual needs. His transfer didn't mean he was getting better. In fact, it meant the complete opposite. It meant they believed it was likely he was approaching the end of his life and wanted to provide care during that time. Despite this, Blade thought it was acceptable to invite him to a streamer party and have him drink excessive amounts of alcohol. The goal is to enhance the quality of life for patients and to provide focuses on providing support and comfort to individuals who are in advanced stages of a life-limiting illness or are nearing the end of their lives. The primary goal is to enhance the quality of life for patients and to provide compassionate and holistic care that addresses their physical, emotional, social, and spiritual needs. His transfer didn't mean he was getting better. In fact, it meant the complete opposite. It meant they believed it was likely he was approaching the end of his life and wanted to provide care during that time. Despite this, Blade thought it was acceptable to invite him to a streamer party and have him drink excessive amounts of alcohol. The toxicology report indicated that, besides a small amount of THC, there were no other intoxicants present in his blood, ruling out that his death could have been caused by another drug such as methamphetamine or fentanyl. The official cause of death was listed as congestive heart failure, obviously due to his medical history and the combination of substances he took before passing out. In the section of the video addressing his culpability for the passing of Willie, Blade only seems to show concern when it pertains to his public image and people blaming him for Willie's death. He seems to show no remorse or guilt for potentially causing the death of a close friend in his own home. It's almost funny in a twisted way to listen to Blade read out the coroner's report of a friend who died right in front of him, while every 5 minutes TTS donations are laughing at the situation, asking if Blade is still going to stream from prison.
The opinion of whoever did the death report shows that the death was natural. He was awake in the hospital, moving around. So much so that he checked himself out. I don't think he should have checked himself out, but that's not my place to say. I wasn't around for that. But he checked himself out, and then died shortly afterwards, dude. This isn't supposed to be a thing about, oh, look, I'm innocent. I've never really claimed my innocence because I don't have to, because I know I'm innocent. I didn't do shit. That's not what this is about. And as far as if there is an investigation, I don't care. Investigate the fuck out of me, dude. There you go. That's my official response.
Blade, will you do fire sales from prison?
I'm not going to prison, dude.
One would think that a normal person would be racked with guilt, believing they may have been responsible for the death of an innocent person, but it appears Blade is too far gone to manage that level of human empathy, and instead chose to monetize the death of a friend to pay for his nightly booze intake. If there's one thing that unites all of Blade's continued failures, it's his inability to grow up and take responsibility for his actions. There's nothing wrong with making stupid mistakes. It's something we all do throughout our entire lives. After all, failure is often the greatest teacher. What separates Blade from his peers in this regard is his determination to not change his lifestyle, no matter how far he falls. Even as he continues to suffer disastrous health consequences like losing teeth, gaining weight, and suffering horrific tissue damage, he keeps indulging in the same exact vices and performing the same events that are actively causing him real damage. Blade suffers from what could be called Peter Pan syndrome, which causes him to be unable to grow up and mature. But instead of being stuck as a boy like Peter Pan, he's stuck as a 25-year-old frat guy. Blade himself fails to understand the fundamental truth and seems to think there's no issue with him doing the exact same things he did a decade ago, when that very clearly isn't the case. Getting blackout drunk and subsisting off of fast food and soda is something that someone who's in the prime of their life can take no problem. But when you continue that behavior well into your 30s, it begins to have serious ramifications. On top of his physical health, his inability to mature has also harmed his mental well-being. He's unable to find romantic fulfillment and unable to find someone who can even stand to be in the same room as him for a prolonged period of time because of his complete disregard for other people's boundaries. The only people he has around him now are the few degenerates who are degenerate enough to willingly associate with him. It's difficult to say just how much further down Blade will go, considering how far he's already gone. Maybe finally losing a leg will force him to take a reality check, or maybe he'll just shrug it off and keep drinking. Whatever happens, there's one thing that's for certain. It'll be live streamed for everyone to see, for better or for worse. I've been Turkey Tom. Thanks for watching.
Even vampires struggle with braces.
This sucks.
Eat what you love with Invisalign.
This is Joshua Block. If you don't already know him, you'd be forgiven for thinking he just escaped from a mental asylum. However, he's actually a very popular content creator, with his World of T-Shirts TikTok account boasting 2.6 million followers. A man of many talents, he solidified his standing in the public consciousness through hard work and shrewd hustling. At least that's probably what he believes. The truth is that Joshua may be the only person who takes himself even slightly seriously. Ever since his unorthodox jump to stardom, he's worked overtime to erode every bit of goodwill his initial fans may have had for him, be it due to his violent outburst against a fish, the fact that many people take issue with him charging fans for photos, or having a smidge too much love for the bottle. This has resulted in him securing an audience hell-bent on seeing him completely self-destruct. But how did it come to this? What's the story behind the downfall of TikTok's newest lolcow? If you're one to believe websites like Wikitubia and Know Your Meme, you'll find that Joshua had uploaded his first ever video on September 22nd, 2020. And in fact, you'll see this repeated in multiple other places. But the story of Joshua and his channel go back further than that, all the way back to June of 2019, when the then 17-year-old first started uploading videos. For a while, he would continue uploading them to minimal views, doing so simply for fun, until he finally got his big break in October of that year, which was a video of him eating crickets.
Yo, exotic food check.
It was with this initial success that the starstruck Joshua began to take TikTok much more seriously. You see, ever since he was rather young, Josh had always dreamed of being self-employed, and he realized that TikTok was his golden ticket to boss mode. He would go on to do everything in his power to capitalize on this in the short term, to very mixed success, with a lot of his videos from then to September 2020 getting 4-digit views. But despite the low amount of attention, the few popular uploads he did have would be enough for him to slowly build a niche community, drawn to the channel by his bizarre behavior. The best example example of this is definitely his lip sync videos, which were some of his most popular content at the time. Take this one, in which he mouths the lyrics of My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. Except, mouthing may not be the right term here, as a more apt description might be that he's flapping his jaw like an upside down trash can in rhythm to the song's lyrics. Or take this example, where he laments the terribleness of the year 2020 by lip syncing Happy New Year by Studio 99. Both of these demonstrate a rather peculiar quality of Josh, one that could be argued to have been the initial thing that drew people in: his distinct lack of facial expressions. In the second video, despite talking about the death of someone important enough to him to make a whole TikTok out of it, he remains completely deadpan, with his eyes barely even moving throughout. It didn't take a genius to understand that there was something special about Josh, from his odd mannerisms to his very stilted delivery. This resulted in most of the growing fan base being composed of people who just made fun of him, seeing him in the same light as any other TikTok lolcow. But that was all Josh needed, and as his notoriety slowly increased, his videos would start getting a fair bit more views, with numerous uploads getting in excess of 100k hits, and some of them even got 200k. Staying true to his form, these were extremely varied, everything from videos about the pandemic to random goofs to even more lip syncs. Of course, while it's easy for us to see that his main draw was the fact he was basically a laughingstock, it doesn't really seem Josh had caught on to that fact, because as he became more and more popular, he began looking for other avenues of potential growth. This would lead to him creating a YouTube channel by the name of World of Interviews on April 8th, 2020. Nothing's really known about this channel, as the only things you'll find on it are 2 videos with our titular hero. One of them is a short where he introduces us to what the channel is all about.
Welcome to World of Interviews, a YouTube channel where we do podcast interviews with famous TikTokers. Discover your favorite celebrities today.
The second video is a 5-minute interview with the man himself, conducted by some random person who I haven't actually found anything about at all. The video reveals some interesting facts. For one, Josh shares with us that he had first downloaded the TikTok app in 2019 and that he had started uploading on it around August. He mentions how by September he fell in love with TikTok, and by October he became TikTok famous in his own words. He also went on to share with us that he had 240,000 followers at this point in time. He then says he's in the top 10,000 on famous birthdays, which, as far as I can tell, is correct. When asked what exactly he owes this success to, he credits the fact that his uploads tend to be varied, as opposed to, the actual reason people were watching him, which seems to be completely over his head.
I do variety videos. Most people on the app only stick to one thing.
Throughout the interview, he presents this YouTube channel as a guaranteed cash cow, planning to use his TikTok success and the success of other large TikTok creators he would interview to launch his YouTube channel into orbit. There isn't much more to the interview besides the fact he once again mentions how he's still in high school at this point. For context, he was born August 7th, 2001, which would have made him 18 years old. We'll get deeper into the implications of this a bit later, but keep that tucked in your noggin. This concludes with a few more TikToks made by Joshua, which are about the same quality as you would expect, with his signature stilted delivery. Overall, the whole video was pretty boring, which is enough of an explanation for why it never really took off. Besides being confused on whether the interview was shot by Joshua or the interviewer, most people were far more interested in the mysterious figure standing in Joshua's doorway in the first half of the video. Questions about it were completely unanswered for the time being. Regardless, the channel was very quickly abandoned for reasons that should be obvious enough to anyone. But that didn't mean he was done experimenting with content. In September of 2020, he would once again attempt to diversify his audience by creating a secondary TikTok account called the Starbucks Club, which in his own words was a channel meant purely for people who drank Starbucks, as explained thoroughly across the first 3 videos on his channel. While the channel definitely had more of that unique Joshua flair than the YouTube, it seems he would abandon it pretty quickly after not finding success. Joshua is extremely familiar with the sunk cost fallacy, but there was some good news. While the side projects were a miserable failure, the World of T-Shirts channel was doing pretty well, so Josh continued to upload on it consistently. But at this point he was still quite unknown, with his fan base being very insulated. All of this would change on the hallowed day of September 22nd, with the upload of a quaint little video in which he mouths the lyrics to some parody song, staying true to form by looking like the main character of Ride to Hell Retribution. Now, this video is actually not that remarkable in terms of views, as at this point, he would be getting 200,000 views pretty regularly. But it does serve as a split-off point between obscurity and his sudden rise to fame. Because you see, at this point, the sky was the limit for our friend with the steely gaze, and he started uploading hundreds upon hundreds of videos to his TikTok channel every single month, with a number of them scoring very solid views, including this oddball duet where he humorously judges an obvious joke TikTok. But the real difference came as September ended, when he finally broke the 200,000 view roof he had been confined to for so long, with an upload on the 2nd of October. This video was dedicated to enlightening his viewers about the facts that pandemics happen roughly every 100 years, listing a couple of plagues going about 300 years back, and managing to actually get 2 million views for this informative piece. Just a few days later, however, he would go on to beat this record with a video where he painted his tongue 2 different colors with the use of some gummies, helpfully explaining to us the entire entire process.
So these will change the color of your tongue permanently for weeks. We're gonna put these in my mouth and wait 10 minutes. It's not coming off. Shit.
This video shattered his previous record from just a few days prior with 10 million views. His before insulated audience had now expanded, as millions of unaware and very confused normies were exposed to the world of t-shirts, expressing a mix of sheer befuddlement and amusement in the comments. With videos like these and many, many more, his whole channel exploded, getting 4 times the followers in October compared to what he got in September. He had become a veritable normie magnet, as his content became ever present on TikTok front pages. However, while all this success was certainly nothing to scoff at, this was merely a precursor for what was to come, as our eternally ambitious main hero would not be satisfied with just filming himself at home being utterly asinine. So at the tail end of 2020, he would dedicate his time into a slightly different kind of content, music. Josh announced his first song in November of 2020, set to be released on the 1st of December. He announced it in much the same way you would probably expect from him at this point, sounding perhaps even more deadpan than he usually does, which is pretty impressive.
I'm releasing a song on December 1st. It's very short, it's only about a minute long, but it's all about COVID. Since I have Select, it'll go to TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, and a whole lot of other platforms. Be ready, it'll be coming.
Indeed, Josh would grace us with the release of his song on
Flight. Unlock a hotel deal. Celebrate.
Spotify, and frankly, it's a beauty. During the 47-second runtime, he reminds us of just how good he had it in 2019, and how as soon as we entered 2020, our whole world came crashing down.
I remember 2019, living our best lives. New Year's Eve came along, looking forward to 2020. It marked the new decade. Everything was fine till March. Toilet paper shortage, quarantine, masks, social distancing. No job, no school, no nothing. Lockdown. Everything canceled. Oh no.
This artful piece would end up netting him around 65,000 listeners on Spotify. With that initial success, Josh saw there was a potential for his music. So only a month later, he announced a new song on the 31st of December, while he danced joyfully to a small excerpt. As for the song itself, it would also be released on Spotify, and if you thought the last one was life-changing, then you're not prepared for what I'm about to show you. It was a love ballad dedicated to, as the name suggests, coffee and boba tea.
Wake up in the morning, throw some clothes on, check my phone, run out the door. Where do I go? Of course, to get some coffee and some boba tea.
The song would end up doing better numbers on Spotify, getting around 130,000 hits. Seeing the monumental success, Josh felt inclined to truly capitalize. He created his own website, registering it under the domain worldofT-shirts.com on the 1st of February, later being changed to worldofT-shirts.ai. The website serves a few purposes, advertising his music and selling his merch, which contains various memes and in-jokes from his community. But it's at this point that Joshua shifts his TikTok content pretty much entirely. And on the 14th of March 2021, already a few months after his initial blow-up, he uploaded a video of himself standing in Times Square, loudly singing Empire State of Mind by Jay-Z, specifically the part sung by Alicia Keys, all while surrounded by a crowd of bemused onlookers.
In New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of, there's nothing you can't do, now you're in New York.
This got him over 30 million views, setting the stage for exactly the kind of content we would expect. He was no longer creating content from the confines of his home. Instead, he was making the exact same thing but out on the streets of New York, which made it even funnier because you got to see bystanders in the background look at him like, what the f*** are you doing? It's with this shift in location that our protagonist would reach the peak of popularity, gaining 640,000 followers in March alone. His videos were getting millions of views, and his streams were attended by tens of thousands of people. While it's hard to say if he made any money, it probably wasn't nothing. It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that this new style of content wouldn't just attract a lot of attention from online fans, but also people in real life who would regularly go on to meet him in public while he was filming. With such a recognizable appearance and cadence, he's pretty hard to miss. Now, to most regular people, I'm sure the idea of constantly being harassed by fans doesn't sound that appealing, but for Josh, this was a catastrophe, one he would respond to in the healthiest manner. He would begin charging his fans $50 for the privilege of taking a photo with him, with multiple videos being released of him basically demanding money from fans. Of these, these. Perhaps the most popular is a video of him in Central Park, where a fan pays him to sing a song, with Josh looking even more dead-eyed than usual. Hey, yeah, New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can't do, now you're in New York. The response to this was very mixed. While the YouTube video that first shared this moment largely sided with Josh, were other people in his own community who were baffled. This would culminate in his fans asking him why he charges people on TikTok live stream. There, he would give a rather interesting response.
I charge my fans for photos because if I just take their picture, they're gonna get famous quickly for nothing.
Of course, it's his prerogative to charge or not charge people for photos. I mean, if he tells them ahead of time, hey, you gotta pay me to take a picture, they don't want to do it, it's whatever. I'm just curious what this response even means. Like, if you want money, say because I want money. Instead, it's they'll get